Welcome. This week we're talking about Star Realms. It's 2 to 6 players. Each pack fits 2 players. We have 2, so we can get up to 4, just perfect for our size of family. First, I'm going to have my kids, Egan and Quinn, talk about how the game is played, their thoughts, and then I will give my thoughts and maybe a few things that I see in the game that can be used for math and reading practice or other things. So stay tuned. Welcome, Quinn and Egan. Today we're talking about Star Realms. Quinn, do you want to hold up the box? I know you like to do that.
2 to 6 players.
I know. But
20 minutes? It usually takes 15 minutes for us.
15? Yeah, it's usually a really quick game, yeah.
Yeah.
Egan.
It's a deck building game.
Yeah, could you start by explaining how the game is played?
Well, to win the game, you need to defeat the other player, get rid of all their authority. Everybody starts out with 50, at least in the regular game. There's lots of different versions how to play.
May I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
I love the hairdo. Just had to say that.
And it goes up to 6 players.
It goes up to 6 players, but we can only play up to 4 because you need a pack, 1 pack of the game, or 1 box of the games for every 2 players. Yeah, we've got 2 boxes.
Yeah, we'll need 1 more box.
I'm sorry I interrupted. Why don't you continue with how you play?
So there's also all these different alliances of guys. So there's the green, there's the blobs, and there's the blues. Now you don't have to really go for one in particular, but they do well if you get lots of the same color. Yeah, but I like to go for a few different colors. Like red and green are a good combination. What did you want to say, Quinn? I like these red guys and the yellow guys. So if you get them together, because you can get from drawing. If these guys draw a lot of cards, these guys trash a lot of cards. So if you don't like the cards that these guys draw, you can trash them. Yep.
So red guys trash cards, yellow guys draw cards.
Green guys are kind of a combination of everything. They kind of help. The more of them you have, the better. Yeah, they do lots of damage. Yeah, they can do lots of damage. And the blue guys, they're good at healing.
I'm going to quick
there are a lot of other cards.
Interject. I'm sure some of our listeners, watchers, don't know how a deck building game is played. Can you quickly go over the mechanics of how you play a deck building game?
Okay, so in the deck building game, you usually have a row of cards that you have that you can buy. Like in here, there's 5, a row of 5 cards. Some like this one or the DC deck building game, Lord of the Rings deck building game. You also sometimes have a stack of cards that you can buy all the time. So on your turn, you have also legendary. They have a stack of cards you can buy. Yeah. So on your turn, you have a hand of cards. You usually have a starting deck, and then you draw a certain amount of cards from that deck. Then
may I interrupt?
Yeah, go ahead.
But first, you also have in this game. You also have to. The first player only has 3 cards. The second player only has 4 cards, but the last player has 5 cards.
On your initial draw, on your initial turn, yep.
But for the rest of the game, everybody has 5. But back to the buying, so you can, and then games have certain ways. Each deck building game has a certain way or a certain currency of things you use to buy stuff. Like in this one, it's trade, represented by these symbols. And then you use trade to buy cards, and you put them in your discard pile. In most deck building games, you put them in your discard pile, and then
even if you didn't use them.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't.
No, I'm talking about the cards you bought.
Oh,
you put in your discard pile. And then eventually, when you run out of your deck, you'll usually shuffle your discard pile into your deck and get all those cards you bought. That's what happens in most deck building games, at least. It's called a deck building game because you build up your deck with better cards.
Very good, very concise. I like that. So is there anything different about this deck building game versus others?
Well, part of the reason is there's less most cards cost around two. Well, in most deck building games, it costs around four
Coins or whatever you use for
Yeah.
currency.
But these guys only go up to like 7.
Yeah, that's the highest.
Are you saying that it's easier to get cards in this
Yeah,
one?
this one it's hard easier. Like right now, it only here it goes up to free trade. That's what the currency is in this.
I think
game.
one thing that's different about this
the
one,
only
or
space one I've seen, for one thing.
what's that?
It's the only space
Yeah.
space deck building game that I've seen.
I think there's others, but this is maybe one of few. And I noticed, at least I haven't played many deck building games.
It's a game
Go ahead.
where you it's like one that you attack other players.
I was just going to say that. That's what I was going to add, that you attack other players. I don't know if we have any other deck building games
Nope.
where you attack other players,
Well,
so that's unique for
in
us.
Legendary, you attack cards,
Yeah, you attack things, but
not
not
other
other
players.
players. And in the DC and Lord of the Rings deck building games, you do
Get
kind
cards.
of attack them. You get cards that can hurt them, but you don't. The goal of the game isn't to try.
And
to
there's also
defeat the RPGs.
There's also Thunderstone that does that. Some cards, if you go into the dungeon with them, they'll affect other players.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I know there's other modes in this game too. Like there's different ways to play. There's
Hydra mode,
a f-
Raiders mode,
yeah.
Pirates.
primarily, I think most people, and what we've played most of the time, is free for all. Like
Yeah.
you're just kind of attacking everybody or anybody.
We've also played boss mode twice.
Yeah, and there's a co-op. If you have, there's like an expansion, or if you back the Kickstarter, I believe it came with some cards that let you play a co-op mode. We've done that once. That's pretty fun. How do you guys like the game?
Great.
It's fast. I like that.
I'm gonna talk
But
about this
It's
later.
boring easily.
I'm gonna talk about this in my section, but maybe you guys can add a little bit. Give me your thoughts on the math involved in this game. I know you have to do quite a bit when you subtract and add life or authority.
That's
Yeah.
hard.
It's even hard for me. I'm good at these. So
Can you give like an example?
yeah, like let's say Egan did 18 damage to me.
Okay.
I have 50 life. You can see here.
Can you hold it up like right in front of you? Other way.
Other way. Good.
5, 5, and 2 20s. Okay.
So they're double-sided.
Yep.
So I could turn in.
One side has a 20, the
Yeah.
other side has a 10, and then in the other cards, one side has a 5, and the other one has a 1. Yep. Go ahead.
So what I could do is get rid of this and this.
2 5s.
Yeah, 2 5s. 10. Then I could get rid of 1 20 and get 12 back.
Get 12 back. Yeah.
Yeah, flip
So
over
what would you
cards.
do with the cards you have to move from 2 20s and 2 5s to getting 12 back? I know the cards can be flipped, and
Yeah.
That's
so
the
what
hardest
would you
part.
end up with? Is it what I'm asking?
The
Right now you have
hardest
2
part.
20s and 2 5s. What would you end up with if you got attacked for 18?
I think the hardest part is this about the math.
About the
Figuring
math?
out what figuring out what cards you should flip over, what you can take, turn in for other stuff.
32.
That's the hardest part.
32, yeah. What I want to know, and that's right, is what cards would you have? What would your authority be showing on your cards?
120, 110, and 15.
That would be 35. He said,
I thought you said 30.
he said 32, right?
So I'd have a 20.
10 and 2 ones.
Yeah.
Now all I have to do is turn it and flip over this and flip over these.
There you go. Yep. That's what I was trying to get at. So there's a lot of there's kind of a math game almost involved in playing this game, I would think. That you gotta it's kind of fun keeping track of authority and trying to figure out which cards to flip and using your math skills to figure that out.
It's fun. I always thought it was kind of boring.
Kind of boring. Well, it's good practice, I think. Well, anything you guys like to add before we sign off?
Well, you shouldn't give us if it comes in a little box, but it gets really big.
Yeah,
If you add
sleeves,
yeah.
if you add sleeves, you should probably get another box
Yeah.
because it's not going to fit.
You know, there is one more thing I wanted to talk about. The math reminded me. How about the reading involved? Did you guys have any troubles reading
Nope.
any of the words?
That's because it's mostly symbols.
Well, it's mostly symbols, but there are quite a bit of words on there, and there is some flavor text on some of them.
And I have so much practice
hard.
reading them, I barely
Yeah.
even notice.
So, you recognized all the words already, is what you're saying?
Although unaligned ship gave me some problems. I couldn't figure out if it was unaligned or unallied.
Which way do you think it is?
Unallied. It's
I think
unallied.
it's unaligned.
Unallied?
Unaligned, yep.
What does that mean?
So there's opportunities for you to learn new words, it sounds like.
What does
even
that
in this
mean?
game. Unaligned means you have no association with another faction, which makes sense, right? Like the
Yeah,
scouts
they're the starting
don't
point.
have...
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's another thing we didn't really bring
Vikings,
up
they're
when you're
assassins.
talking about factions, is they kind of have a synergy with each other. As you can see by this symbol down here, if you've played any other cards with this symbol, then you get this added
there's
bonus. And a lot of
another thing I
cards and a
wanna
lot of the
show
faction
you.
cards do that.
There's another thing I want to show you.
Okay. Can I help you? What are you looking for? A base, huh?
Yes, there's bases and outposts. They both say base on them.
No, outposts.
No, base. They both say base on them. But if it's got a black shield down in the corner there,
This one has a silver.
yeah. Well, if it has a black shield, that means that you have to get through it to defeat the player. And it's got that much HP as much as on the shield. And as long as it's out, you get a special power.
Yeah. And if
One or
it's
two
silver,
special power.
it just means that
just-
you don't need to attack it to attack the player first.
Yeah.
Oops, I
But you
accidentally
can-
standed up.
Stood up, yep.
I got beheaded.
All right. Anything you guys like to add? I think we've talked for quite a while.
No.
That was good stuff, though. Thanks for joining us, Egan and Quinn.
Wonder if that's.
We appreciate your thoughts. Good
Me
gaming.
too.
You just heard from Egan and Quinn. They gave their thoughts on the game and how it was played. I think they did a pretty good job of explaining some of the things that I saw in the game in regards to math practice and reading practice. But just to kind of go over that again real quickly, there's some great grouping strategies, mathematically speaking, when you're keeping track of your authority that the kids get lots of practice with. You know, subtracting fives, groups of 5 or 10s, and then a combination of knowing 5 and 3 make 8. And if you take away 4 of that, what are you left with? Well, you get to flip a 5 over to 1, and you get rid of your other ones. So there's a lot of cool math logic going on in there in the skills. I don't think they intended for that when they built the game, but it works really well. I've heard some people say, oh, play with D20s. It's easier to keep track of your authority that way than using the authority cards, which may be the truth if you're just playing to play the game. But I suggest if you're playing with your kids, keep these authority cards. They work really well for math practice. Maybe, not that you don't get any math practice using D20s. There's definitely some skills used to keep track of your score that way, but I think it's better with these authority cards. There's also some reading involved with the cards. There's the text, and maybe your kid knows how to read, and this will just, like Egan, just be really easy for them and nothing new. Although even he had troubles with one word and learned a new word, so you never know. Great reading potential in these cards. I don't know if there's anything else. Reading, there's math. Even in the math, there's some basic multiplication going on when you're adding up your attack damage. There's often a lot of cards that have 2 attack on them, so it's really easy to get in the practice of counting by 2s when you're attacking them. All right, I do 2, 4, 6, 8 damage, or 2, 4 plus 3 more, 7 damage. So even math, adding up math that way lots of practice in this game. So I highly recommend it for that alone. And it's a fun game. It's not, I mean, there's a lot of math practice and reading practice involved in the game, but it's fun. I really enjoy it. It's a quick deck builder. It's quick to set up, quick to take down, which is a big plus in my book. There's games like Legendary, which are fun, but take quite a bit of time to set up. You got to pick out 5 heroes, shuffle a deck, get the villain deck ready, shuffle that deck, and then when you take it down, you got to separate everything. Here, it's just one deck where you buy stuff from and just get the starter cards dealt out and you're ready to go. So I like that about this game, and in general I really like this game, and it's great for kids because there's a lot of skills to be practiced, math and reading wise. So I recommend picking it up. Thanks for joining us. Oh, next week we may have a special guest, a great science teacher who's going to give her thoughts on dominant species. Spoiler, it's my wife.